Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Terry White and this is the review that so many of you have asked me for. A couple weeks back when Apple opened up the orders for the Apple Vision Pro, I got up early, I placed my order, my own money, nothing sponsored. And of course I posted a screenshot, hey, I'm ordering one, we'll see how it goes. And I said this quote, I said, I'll either love it, figuring it will be great, or I think it's just okay. I didn't think I would hate it because if I thought it was something I wouldn't use or would hate, I wouldn't even waste time ordering it. So I knew it would be one of the two. And I'll cut to the chase, I love it, but it's not perfect. And I'll give you a rating, a 1 out of 10, or 1 through 10, what score I would give it. And it feels very much like a first generation product that's very good. So if we think back to first generation iPhone, first generation Mac, first generation iPad, they were all good, but missing things like, and then of course version 2, version 3, version 4, and change history or change the world. I don't know if this will change the world, but it will certainly add a new surface to what we do, just like iPad did. And just like the phone did. I remember days when when the iPhone first came out, who would spend $600 on a phone? Oh my God. Famous quote by a Microsoft guy at the time. It doesn't even have a physical keyboard, and now no phones have a physical keyboard. So it's just, the world does change. It might not happen overnight, but it does happen. So let me get into what I think about the Vision Pro. Now, first and foremost, I did an unboxing of this. So if you want to get into all the components, what comes with it, all the little details, go watch that video. And I'll put a link to that as well. But I'm not going to cover all the little details because I already did that. This is really, now that I've had it for a weekend, like 3 days, what do I think about it? I'm just trying to make sure I don't drop it. And this is it. So it's this headset with the standard single loop band and the light blocking thing. I always forget what that's called. And of course the foam that goes on it. So I'm going to kind of disassemble it because a lot of people want to know what it looks like on the inside. So I'm going to take this off and I'm going to take off the power. So that means it's going to be shut down. And I'm also going to pull these tabs to pull off the headband. So I'm pulling off the headband here. I forgot you can't see what I was doing there. Okay, so I took it completely down to the bare essentials. So that's what it looks like on the inside. So those are two 4K displays, OLED displays. And from what I understand, the best of any headset. Now, in the front, there's an array of cameras and sensors all the way around the device so it can detect what's around you in your room. There's ventilation on the top. There's fans in it that I never hear, but they're there. I can feel air coming out. And then, of course, a lot of this comes from other Apple devices. So there's a digital crown that you turn and press. There's a single button, just like the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch has those same buttons on it. So it's got the same stuff. That's where this comes from. It's aluminum. It's a very premium product for the price especially. The number one question I get is when I put this on, for all the videos I've done so far, of course I take my glasses off and put it on, people ask, well, you wear glasses. How does it handle that? There are prescription inserts. These are magnetic prescription inserts that come with, you actually order these separately because not everyone wears glasses. And you pay for these separately. So these are $100 bucks, 100 something. And I just ordered them day one. As a matter of fact, when you go through the ordering process to be sized for the bands and everything, they'll ask you, do you wear glasses? Do you wear contacts? And you literally have to upload your non-expired prescription and order these separately. So they did arrive on the same day. And they literally just magnetically snap in, just like that. So there's a left and a right one, and they're there, and that's where, that's how I can see in them without my glasses. Now the next piece, this I talked about in the unboxing. This is what you get measured for, because this is standard, this is one size fits all. This is the when you do the ordering and you hold your phone up to your face and you do your order through the ordering process, it's measuring you for this. And this is the light shield, that's the word I was looking for earlier, and it magnetically kind of just snaps right on. And then of course there's this foam seal that they give you two of these in the box. One is thicker than the other one just to position the headset further away from your face. All right, and then of course the single loop band, which there's a single loop and a dual loop. And I've been using the single loop all of this time, and so far so good. I really like it. All right, so I'm going to clip this back on. I'm going to set it down, and we're going to address the elephant in the room. The two elephants. Weight. So the number one thing you will hear about this is that it's heavy. And that's not an incorrect statement. It does have some weight to it. But just like anything else, when somebody tells you something's heavy, something's big, something's this, something's that, your mind creates a weight or a size or a description that's usually over what it really is. So when I picked this up, I was like, oh, it's not as heavy as I thought. And I cover all that in the unboxing. So yes, it is heavy, but it's not as heavy as I thought it would be. Yes, it is front loaded, so it's heavy on the front part of your face, but there's no neck strain. Like I didn't feel like my neck was being pulled down at all. And I don't have any fatigue wearing it for a couple of hours. Then there's the second piece, which is this. This is the battery. So there's an external battery that comes with it, and it charges via USB-C, and you can plug in USB-C. It comes with an adapter, comes with a plug, or comes with a cable, to leave it plugged in full time. So like when I'm sitting there watching a movie, I'm not watching it on battery. I'm plugged in to the battery, to the power. So that way I don't ever worry about battery life, or haven't had to worry about battery life thus far. The only time I would use it on battery solo is traveling. Like if I was using it on a plane, then I may not have an outlet at my seat, so therefore I'm going to be on battery. So they say you get about 2 to 2.5 hours with this battery. I can't confirm or deny that. I will say the first day I probably did use a battery like the whole time, and I would say yeah, I probably did get 2 hours, but I wasn't tracking it. I'll come back maybe later with a yep, it gets 2 hours, or nope, it doesn't. So I'm going to guess that it does. All right, now this is a proprietary connector. So this connector connects to the side of it. So it goes right there, and that's where it actually connects and powers. So I'm going to put it on. It clips on, and then you turn it to lock it. So that way it doesn't fall off. I wouldn't recommend holding it like this, but it doesn't fall off. And then you should see a light on it, letting you know that the headset is now booting up. All right. So the weight was the elephant in the room of the battery. The battery weighs, and I covered this in the unboxing, it weighs about 2 to 2.5 iPhone 15 Pros. So it's not light, but I would put this in a back pocket and not even think about it. Like it's not so heavy that I wouldn't want to carry it. I wouldn't want to be carrying it in my hand the whole time I'm using it, but in a pocket I would never know I had it. I heard the chime, I heard it boot up. Okay. Disclaimer. First disclaimer. No review you read or watch does this justice. I've seen tons of reviews already. I've seen Apple's own videos. And when I say they don't do it justice, they can tell you the features, they can tell you the specs, but they can't tell you what it's like to wear one. And I came up with an analogy for this. I said, it's like trying to explain to someone who's never been to a beach what it's like to be at a beach. What would you say? Oh, it's warm. You feel the ocean breeze. You'll hear the waves crashing, salt water, sand, and beautiful sunsets and sunrises. And just, it's a beautiful feeling. Okay. And you can show them pictures and videos too, so they don't have to think about it in their head. They actually see it and they'll say, oh yeah, it looks amazing, it looks beautiful. But until you step foot on the beach, until you're sleeping on that lawn chair, that lounge with the sun and the sand and the children playing and the dogs running and the ocean coming up and you walk through the water, until you experience that, I can describe a beach to you all day long and it won't be the same until you're there. That's what this is like. I can tell you about it, but until you physically put one on, you really won't know what it's like. Now, second disclaimer. I don't have a bunch of previous headsets to compare it to. I may have, in my whole time of VR headsets existing, I think I put on one at a CES show once. I looked around, oh yeah, this is cool, and I took it off. The reason I don't have any VR headsets is I was never into VR headsets because the application for those seemed to be, at the time at least, movies, games. Movies would be cool, I watch movies, but I'm not a gamer, so I didn't care about the gaming part. So I never got a headset. Oculus and all the Meta and all the other ones, they're great. I'm not taking anything away from those. But what people tend to want to do is they want to draw a direct comparison to whatever headset you like to this. And they're not the same. They're just not. You can talk about the headset you have and all it does. That Apple was very clear that this is not a VR headset. It's a spatial computing headset that has some VR features. For example, remember back in 2007 when the original iPhone came out? There were cell phones. There were smartphones with internet browsers. There were phones that could do email. BlackBerry was great at that. And if you looked at the iPhone and you didn't look past a list of features, you would say, well, my phone can make calls. My phone can browse the internet. My phone can do email. My phone can do text messages. The iPhone is nothing. My phone already has all that. And as we know, especially if you came from any of those other phones at the time, the iPhone was nothing like any of those other phones. So we're at that precipice. We're at that level now with the Apple Vision Pro. It's not like anything else out there, which is why it costs what it costs. I'm not defending the cost. I think the cost is high. I think most people won't buy it because of that cost. And you're off the hook. If you say it's too expensive, I'm never going to fault you. I'm going to say, yep, it's probably too expensive. But just note that you can't say, oh, well, I can watch movies in 3D and I can play games. I already have a headset that's just as good for $500. Then you sound like that person that had a cell phone when the iPhone came out. They're not the same. All right, now that we got the disclaimers out of the way, this is very much a first generation device. While the hardware is definitely very premium and feels good, and this is all glass and aluminum, not plastic, I'll cover a couple of my complaints right off the bat. So like I said, this is an honest review. So there are some things I love, some things that are okay, and some things I wish were better. And there's one thing I actually hate. We're going to get to that. So this power cable, I don't have a problem with it. It's out of the way. I just wish literally it was a little bit further back because when the cord drops down, it's literally right behind my ear. Minor thing, not a big deal, but if it were just a little bit further back or even on the back, that would be better. Second thing, now these are speakers and these work great. These are spatial speakers, no complaints there. I was just showing them because I forgot to show them in the unboxing. Now we get to this part. Remember that I took this off, this part? This comes off way too easily. It's magnetic and it doesn't take very much to pull it off. Like it literally just pulls off with very little effort. And the problem is you tend to want to pick it up by this because this feels like, oh, I won't be touching the glass. You can't, because the minute you go to pick it up, it's going to come off and you're going to not have the headset. You're going to drop it. So I wish there was a way to lock that on, like just some kind of like the power cable doesn't fall off because it locks on. I wish these could lock on some way so they don't accidentally come off until you're ready to take it off. Hardware wise, besides the weight, that's it. Those are my only issues. All right, so now I said there's no way you're really going to be able to appreciate this, but I'm going to try my best to show you what I would use it for, what I'm going to use it for, and what you might use it for, and what kind of sets it apart from all the other headsets out there that are much cheaper. That nothing wrong with those, but they're not the same. Just like your phones weren't the same. Now, like I said, people always say, hey, you took your glasses off. How do you see? I showed you the insert. So that's number one question right off the bat. Now, when I put it on, I see an Apple logo because it's the first time it's booting up. And then immediately it went to a display that shows me my room. So I'm seeing the room, which you're about to see in a moment. But now it's asking me for my passcode because this is the first time I'm restarting. So I can't use the optical recognition, just like you can't use your eyes or your thumbprint the first time you boot up your iPhone. You have to log in first. Then from that point on, you can use Touch ID or Face ID. So I am literally looking at the numbers. All right, so I just looked at each number that came up and used this gesture to open it. And I just opened an app because I was looking at an app. So that's how you operate the device. You look at what you want, and then you do I'm gonna look up here so I don't do it. You do a index finger and a thumb tap, because the cameras and sensors here see your hands. Now, I'm going to be exaggerating my hand and sticking it far out so you can see me do it, but I would normally have my hands down where they fit comfortably because the sensors and cameras are at the bottom too, looking straight down. So in this field of view, my hands can kind of be just about anywhere while I'm doing this, and that click will work. Now, one of the habits I had to get out of was sometimes I was doing this. It's smart enough to know that that doesn't count. It's not the index finger. I don't know why I was in this habit of doing this, and I was like, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? Wrong finger. All right, so that you can see what I'm seeing, I'm going to start a screen recording, because otherwise you're just looking at me wearing a headset. You're not seeing what I'm seeing through this computer. So I'm looking through two 4K displays, and the cameras in the front are showing me everything in front of me. So, many people refer to this as pass-through. And since I don't have another headset to compare it to, I can only go by what people have been saying. And people have been saying that this is the best pass-through experience of any headset. I'll have to take their word for it. All right, so I'm going to start a screen recording, which is built in, by the way, just like on your iPhone and iPad. And I went to my control panel. I started the screen recording. Now I'm going to close the control panel. All right, you should see on this recording everything I'm seeing. So I'm looking at my office in front of me. I see the camera. I see me in the camera. I see my stuff on the wall. I see my messy floor over there in the corner, because the cameras on the device are pointing outward, showing me what's in front of me. Now, if I want to see the interface of the Vision Pro, I press the button on the crown, and that brings up the apps. Now, you kind of still see the camera because it's closer to me than that. I can bring stuff closer and further, but by default, that stuff's closer. Now, if I look up and press again, then the stuff goes up there. So it's kind of like not as much stuff in the way. I still see my lights that are in the room, but you can reposition this stuff wherever you're looking, and that's where it will go. Okay, so these are the standard built-in apps. So Apple TV, music, mindfulness, the settings app, just like on your phone and your iPad, Freeform, Safari, Photos, Notes, App Store, Mail, Messages, Keynote, and compatible apps. We'll get to that in a minute. Now, so that you're not seeing so much clutter, you're not seeing the space on my wall and this, I'm going to turn the digital crown so that the environment starts to go in the background. Now, notice I just turned it a little, so that kind of covered the background, but you still see the window, you still see the door. If I turn it some more, you'll see more of the environment meaning the artificial environment, and less of the real world. So I can turn it all the way up, and now I'm fully immersed in this. I think this is, oh, what do you call these trees? I forgot the name of the environment. Hang on, let's go look at environments. This is Joshua Tree. Yeah, so this is Joshua Tree. For example, I did some recording on Mount Hood. We switched to Mount Hood, and now we're looking at Mount Hood. So this is Mount Hood, and we're just sitting on the shore or the beach, or not beach, but we're sitting on the side, and the water's there, and the birds will be chirping, so forth and so on. So if I turn the crown the other way, that environment will start to go away. I can make it go all the way away, or make it come back as much as I want or need. Now, to get back the apps, I just press the digital crown again, and there are my apps. Actually, there are my apps. And so you have apps, people, and environments. Now, people, like if you want to do a FaceTime call, or that's where you go for people. All right, next up. How do you get apps onto the device? Just like on your phone and iPad, you go to the App Store, and you will see on the App Store, you'll see, and by the way, I'm swiping up to show scrolling. So I just hold my fingers together and move the screen up and down, and then let go, and now the screen's not moving up and down. So this is how you scroll, and this, if you had a slider, you would go left and right to move the slider. So I showed that kind of when I was showing Lightroom in one of my Instagram Reels. So notice that these are like featured apps. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a search. And when I click into the search, you're going to see the feature I hate. Not dislike, not could be better, well, it could be better, but I absolutely despise it. And that is the on-screen keyboard. So I'm going to move the keyboard up. First, usually it's in my face like that, but luckily it went down to the bottom. So I picked up that bar at the bottom. I can move it around. And the way you search, I'm going to look away from it for now, but the way you search is you look at each letter and click with your fingers. And I guess I just don't have my timing down yet, to where when I look, and I click, I've looked away before the click registered, and therefore now I'm clicking on the next thing, and I'm always spelling things wrong. So let's say we looked for, calculator. So C, A, L, C, U, L, A. And I could go with the words that are there, but calculator, did I spell that wrong? I spelled that wrong. So see, I typed it wrong. And then I just get frustrated because I'm just not good at typing on this keyboard. There it is, calculator. So now, eventually I'll get there. So for simple text entry, it's okay, but I don't like it. I couldn't imagine typing on this for anything real, like typing an email, or typing in a word processor, or typing something important. This would drive me crazy. So to get a calculator, now notice at the top, under the word calculator, there's Apple Vision Pro apps and iPhone, iPad apps, and that's a big distinction. The Apple Vision Pro apps are apps that have been natively created for the Vision Pro and take advantage of Spatial and all the other features. iPad and iPhone apps are the existing iPhone and iPad apps that you already know and use. You can add those as well. So for example, I'm going to show you Lightroom in a minute. Lightroom is an iPad app, but Firefly, which is from Adobe also, is a native Vision Pro app. So both can coexist. The Vision Pro apps, of course, can take advantage of things like environments and filling the room and all of that, that the iPad apps are just like a window. So they do what they're supposed to do, but they're just a window. You can't do anything else outside of that window. All right, so let's say I want to get this app. Now it's going to say I have to double click the button on the top, so not the crown, the other button. Oh, hang on, try again. Try again. This is where it's supposed to recognize my eyes. Hold on, let me readjust the headset. There we go. So I just moved the headset slightly because it is very sensitive to your eye alignment, and I probably didn't have the headset straight on my eyes. So now that calculator was downloaded, I can go ahead and open it, and it comes up. And there it is, a calculator in the 3D space. I can go put that over there and keep that over there for now. And then to move something, you always grab the bar on the bottom. To close it or quit out of it, you just hit the X. So that calculator is there, and I can say 6 times 5 equal 30. Okay, it works. All right, so that's a calculator. Okay, next up, let's go back to the apps. So that app was installed. So if I swipe, there it is, compact calculator. So one of the things right off the bat is everything that you install is in alphabetical order, and you can't move it around. So I can't like put that calculator on the first screen. Right now, the apps are where they are and they're in alphabetical order, and that's it. You can't change anything. So that's one of those version 1 kind of things. Next up, these are all native apps. If I want to launch a non-native app, like an iPad or iPhone app, that's in the compatible apps folder. So in the compatible apps folder, freehand or Fresco's there, and almost said freehand, Behance and Lightroom. So those are my creative apps. And so if I launch Lightroom, that's launching my iPad version, and I can go in, I can swipe between the photos. That's me in my studio, that's me as taking a photo, and if I want to go to make adjustments on that photo, I meant to click on light. I'm grabbing that slider and I'm just dragging that slider left and right to adjust it. So it can be used. It's making adjustments with your fingers and looking at the thing you want to adjust. Now, one of the questions I got was, hey, when you're making adjustments, can you look at the photo? Because I'm looking at the slider, obviously, to grab it. So once you grab the slider and you start adjusting it, let's go up. There we go. Once you start grabbing it, then you can look anywhere you want. So I can turn my head anywhere. I'm still grabbing the slider. I can look right at the photo and see if I brighten the shadows too much, or I want to darken it a little, or get it just right. I can see it as I do it. So you don't have to keep looking at it once you grab it. All right, so that's Lightroom, and that's a non-native app, but it's an iPad app that works. I'm going to stick it over there for now. And then we'll go back to the App Store, and we'll close compatible apps, and we'll go to a native app, like Adobe Firefly. So there's Firefly. Great. And this was the last AI generation I did. And now, let's say I wanted to type something, I wanted to type in something new. So if I go to describe, that keyboard's going to come up. Oh no, I hate that keyboard. Toy robot wearing sneakers taking a selfie. There we go. Return and search. I would never try and type that in. Oh my God, I would want to shoot myself if I tried to type in something that long on that keyboard. So this is a native app and therefore has some native capabilities, and I'll show you that once this render happens. I have no idea what that's going to look like, but there's my toy robot taking a selfie. Okay, so now I'll pick that picture up and I can actually drag it out into the environment. I can't do that with an iPad app. I can only do that with native apps. And so the native app is allowing me to scale it, to move it around, to put it in my environment. So again, this is what this looks like from a working perspective. All right, next up, I'm going to quit out of Firefly, and I'm going to close that image I pulled out, and I'm going to close that calculator that I can't scale, and we'll keep that, we'll move that over off to the side there. Now, let me, I have my Mac here on my desk, and notice it says connect. So now, this is like kind of the spatial computing part. Not only can I, here it wants me to log in, not only can I connect to my computer, but I can actually use it on this gigantic screen that's in front of me. So here's Photoshop. There we go, I had to hit the tab. This is actually Photoshop, not Photoshop running on the Vision Pro. This is Photoshop running on my MacBook, but I have the biggest display I've ever had in my life. This is like a projector in front of me, and it's crystal clear. So the other thing is the screen recording will not do this justice, because I've learned that the screen recording works pretty much like your eyes. Like I'm looking at remove background right now. Looking at remove background that's in focus, so that means just like your eyes, everything you're not looking at, soft focus, a little blurry, because it's recording what you're focused on. So if I look over there at the libraries panel, I'm now focused on that. That's going to be crystal clear. The other stuff to the left is going to be kind of blurry. And also you're converting this 3D video, this environment, to a 2D video for you guys to watch on YouTube. So I can now use my mouse and keyboard. I can, let's make a selection. For example, we use the rectangular marquee tool. There we go. Now we should have a decent result. And I know this is not a Photoshop tutorial, but you're getting a tip right there. The selection will also affect your outcome. All right, so now, while that's rendering, so all the processing is happening on the MacBook. Nothing's changed in terms of the spatial computing, but you notice Lightroom's still over there. If I launch other apps, they'll still be there. So I'm having my Mac experience inside of my Apple Vision Pro. And if I turn up the environment, I'm doing it on Mount Hood or wherever we were in that environment. And I know you might not be able to hear this, but I hear birds chirping in this environment as well. So there's my Mac. I can pick that up, move it around, put that wherever I want in the 3D space, and that's amazing. All right, so now let's take it up a notch. Let's close this. I'll show you one of my favorite apps, one that I definitely will be using. And I do presentations for a living. So I do Keynote. Keynote's my presentation app, and that's built in. So I'm going to go to Keynote. This is not running on my Mac. This is actually built in. There we go. That's the one I want. All right, so we're going to go back to the beginning slide. So this is my Keynote deck that I did for my TEDx talk. And all the slides are there, and of course it came over beautifully. But if I want to rehearse this, let's say I was doing a new presentation, I wanted to rehearse it, this is freaking amazing. I can go up here and choose Rehearse Slideshow. And then it asks me, well, where do you want to rehearse it? Do you want to rehearse it in the conference room or the Steve Jobs Theater? I want to rehearse it in a conference room. And it changes my environment to that conference room. I look up, look down on the floor, my hands are in front of me. If I turn around behind me, there's the Keynote presentation on the big screen. And I can then start going through my slide deck and start rehearsing. Now, let's say I want to change the environment. So I just looked at environments, went down to the theater, and here we are, sitting in front of the Steve Jobs Theater in San Jose with a bigger screen behind me. And there it is. So I have excitement about new technology. And there's my excitement slide. Now, I do wish that there was a virtual audience option, but there isn't, because usually when you're rehearsing, you're not rehearsing in front of an audience. But that's Keynote. So this is kind of what we mean by spatial computing. This is kind of what we mean by there's nothing else out there quite like this. That's going to give you this kind of integration. That's going to give you this kind of tie-in with your computing that you're already doing. Now let's switch to one more environment, one more app, and then we'll wrap up. So let's go to Disney Plus. And in Disney Plus, it kind of already gave me like this 3D Disney logo. And who's watching? It's me. And this, of course, is a native app. It's one of the first ones I downloaded. And all the content's there. Now, I can't show you content because it'll black out the screen recording. But for example, if I go to 3D, these are all the 3D movies that you would see in your Vision Pro in 3D. Like they would literally come alive in front of you. But I want to show you my favorite thing about this. Because again, all headsets can watch content, but you can pick the environment from Disney that you want to watch it in. And my two favorites are Avenger Tower, where you're actually on Tony Stark Tower. And there's the big Iron Man suit. There's the Captain America shield and Thor hammer and Iron Man helmet. And there's some more Iron Man suits over there. And if we move this out of the way, we see the jet. There's the jet right there in New York. Now, the other cool thing, side bit, these environments are time-based if you leave it on automatic. So when it gets dark at nighttime, it's looking at New York at night. Let's go to Tatooine. I literally watched last night The Last Jedi, and I watched it sitting in this speeder right in front of you. You kind of want to grab the controls that don't exist. And it's like a drive-in. So you're watching the movie in a speeder on Tatooine. Star Wars fans will know what that is. And you're like watching it at the virtual drive-through. And it's just the coolest thing ever. All right, so I'm going to get out of this, and I'm going to get back to this, and I'm going to get out of it, and we're going to wrap it up. All right, so now let's just take. All right, let's take the headset off and put my glasses back on, and let me give you my final word about this cool device. If I had to rate it 1 out of 10, honestly, originally I said 9, but I'd probably give it an 8. And the 8 is only because there's certain things that are kind of fit and finish, not hardware-wise. The hardware is kind of finished. But the software, the Vision OS could use a couple of updates. So number 1, I would like it to have just a better keyboard options. Now, I should note, if you want to use an external Bluetooth keyboard just with the Vision Pro, you can. This is a battery rechargeable Apple standard keyboard that I happen to have an extra one, and it pairs perfectly, and you can type perfectly in your Vision Pro. So if I were going to be doing real work in the Vision Pro, there's no way I would use that on-screen keyboard. I just can't use it. But I could use this. This is lightweight. Throw this in my backpack with the Vision Pro, and I got a real world scenario. If the eye tracking and clicking isn't working for you, you can also optionally add the Apple trackpad. This works beautifully with it as well. You pair it, and you now have a mouse, or trackpad, not a mouse, trackpad and keyboard to use if you need it. You cannot use a mouse. I also tried a Wacom tablet. I couldn't get that I got it to pair, but I couldn't get it to do anything. So tablet support, don't know. It's not in the official list, so it may not be supported at this time. All of that's optional. You don't have to have a keyboard. You don't have to have a trackpad. You don't have to have anything else. It's optional. If you have the latest, it'll work with your AirPods, AirPods Pro, AirPods and AirPods Pro. But if you have the latest AirPods Pro, like the ones with the USB-C case, it will take advantage of more spatial audio for the AirPods. The speakers on the device are amazingly good, way better than I expected, because I just expected them to kind of just be speakers, not to really be great, and you would use headphones. No, those speakers are actually really good. And out of all the years of Apple having spatial audio, it wasn't until I put this headset on that I actually felt spatial audio. Like I could literally hear things in the distance and hear things behind me and hear things around me. Like they nailed it with this. I've never heard spatial audio like I have on the built-in speakers. Should you buy it? I can't answer that because it starts at $3,500. And unlike anything else where I have something to compare it to and I can say, oh yeah, you should get it. You should get the new computer. You should get the new phone. You should get the new whatever. This is a very personal choice. Only you can determine, because I don't know, will it be too heavy for you? Will your eyes get fatigued if you watch it too long? Will you get a headache from it? Will you get motion sickness? Those are all personal things. None of that has affected me, by the way. But those are all personal things that I can't answer for you. Only you can go try it and answer it and do a demo, and if you like it, buy it, and if you don't like it, return it. So I can't say you should get one or not get one. But I can say you should not get one if all you want is movies and games. Go buy a cheaper headset, because that's not what this is about. This is spatial computing. So if you want to take a computer with you that gives you 3D environments and a screen that fills your entire room, that's what this computer is for. And also works off your MacBook or works with the built-in apps. Any iPad app just about can run on it. And just about, not all of them, but just about all of them can run. And there are more native apps coming every single day. As of this recording, I think the quote was there are 600 native apps, which is nothing in the relatively terms of numbers of apps. But how many iPad apps were available on day one as well? How many iPhone apps were available the day they opened the App Store? So as we saw all those other platforms grow by tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of apps, I expect Vision Pro apps to continue to grow daily. I also expect some of the good iPad apps to be converted over to Vision Pro, so they run natively. Now, is there any lag, performance issues, things that I've run into that I would warn you about? Performance has been great. I've not had a single performance issue. However, I have had it occasionally, like I'm moving my eye around and it just doesn't track. So the quick way around that, close your eyes for 2 seconds, open them up, and it always picks back up again. Occasionally that's happened. I've had an existing iPad app crash. Just relaunch it. That was it. So no different than any other computer or phone or tablet that you have. It just depends on the app. So 8 out of 10. I loved mine. I can't wait to travel with it on a plane and use it. I do not plan on walking around with it. I do not plan on sitting outside at a cafe as we've seen some of the social media posts. I'm definitely not going to drive with it. I don't see myself taking it outside and using it. Now, if it's outside in my backyard, yeah. If it's outside at a vacation resort, yeah. But walking down the street with it just feels and looks weird to me. Does it work because you got the great pass-through? Sure. But why do you need it to walk down the street? I don't get that. That's not me. That's not what I'm going to be doing with it. So with that said, that is my official review of only having it for 3 days. More to come as it does more. I'm learning more tips and tricks, so maybe I'll do a blog post to complement this video with some of the stuff I've discovered, like taking screenshots by holding down both buttons, or pressing both buttons, I should say. The fact that it can record your video for you to use as documentation or something else. So those are all kind of cool things that it can do. All right, I'm just babbling at this point. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye, everybody.